It is noon in Modena in Italy. It is 1 p.m. in Damascus. I'm Monita Rajpal.
And I'm Zain Verji. This is World One live from London.
The earthquake has struck northern Italy just a few kilometers from the point where a major tremor happened only 9 days ago. Officials say at least 8 people have been killed. Sadly, that may not be the final tally. The quake, which struck at 9 in the morning local time, was measured at a magnitude of 5.8, slightly smaller than the one on May 20th, which left 7 people dead. The center of the quake was not far from Bologna, one of Italy's major industrial centers. With us now on the phone from Modena is Andrea Vogt, a freelance journalist on the scene. Andrea, tell us, what are you seeing right now?
Well, all of the residents of the small towns in this area that's been so hard hit are outside. No one wants to go into their homes. There are several factories.
This time. Andrea, thank you very much. Andrea Vogt there on the scene for us, reporting to what's happened in Modena and the region in Italy.
Make or break talks are unfolding in the Syrian capital, Damascus. The UN Special Envoy Kofi Annan speaking today with President Bashar al-Assad just days after the worst atrocity in months of brutal conflict.
Well, newspapers around the world are covering events in Syria. We want to get a flavor of what they are saying. The headline in the International Herald Tribune is Annan in Syria pushes to save his peace plan. And it says Mr. Assad has repeatedly shown himself to be impervious to international pressure. From the beginning, Kofi Annan's plan has been given slim chances of success. The Hong Kong edition of the China Daily has an editorial with this headline: violence in Syria must end. And it goes on to say Annan's ceasefire plan might be the last chance to solve the Syrian crisis in peace. All forces in Syria should honor their commitments and carry out the ceasefire to the letter. The top priority now is to prevent more civilian deaths. And finally, in the United Arab Emirates, there's this headline in the National: the armchair pundits were right, and Syrians pay for it. It's a comment piece that goes on to say, after filming hundreds of thousands of videos documenting the regime's shelling, destruction and torture, along with protests, funerals, mass graves and thousands of corpses, somehow the conflict is still painted in the media as unclear, unverified and always complicated. Democracy leader Aung San Suu Kyi is leaving her home in Myanmar for the first time in 24 years. The newly elected opposition leader is set to arrive in Thailand this Tuesday, where she will deliver a speech at the World Economic Forum on East Asia. You're watching World One live from London, a continent in crisis. How Europeans really feel about what's happening in Europe.
Research centers surveyed 9,000 people in March and April across 8 different European countries and the United States. Now, one of the questions people were asked was whether they thought economic conditions were favorable in their countries. In no country except here, Germany, was even 1 in 3 people happy with the state of their economy.
Well, CNN's Paula Newton has studied the report. She joins us now. So tell us a little bit more about, I guess, the Europeans are feeling that it's not a pretty picture.
And, you know, it's understandable given the crisis. I think what's striking in the survey are, first off, the contradictions, and let's go to those. While you know from having traveled throughout Spain and Italy, I can tell you the sentiment about the same in those kind of crisis economies. Look, if Europe were strong, if Germany were strong, for instance, if Britain was still a strong economy, if France were a strong economy, we do not believe we'd be left out of that equation anyway, whether or not we were in the euro.
The interesting thing is, I think a lot of people are saying that in order to get to a position of strength, you need to go through positions of austerity and weakness. That's what they're saying.
And it is still a very young economic and political union.
All right, Paula, thank you very much. Paula Newton, good to see you. Syrian activists claim sexual violence and rape are common weapons in the conflict there. Now, the UK is setting up a special team of experts to investigate the use of rape in war zones, and Syria will be one of their first stops. The British Foreign Office will announce the scheme Tuesday night before a screening of Angelina Jolie's film In the Land of Blood and Honey, which is about rape in the Bosnian conflict in the 1990s. For more on this, we're joined by Nadim Houri in our Beirut bureau. He's the Deputy Director of the Middle East and North Africa Division of Human Rights Watch. Nadim, thank you very much for being with us. First of all, what evidence has there been that within Syria in itself that rape and sexual assault has been used as a tool of or a weapon in the war?
I can tell you first what we've documented. We know that there have been a number of cases of sexual abuse.
Welcome back. The European Football Championship begins in just 2 weeks, but the focus in Italy right now is on a match-fixing scandal involving a number of their clubs. Amanda Davis joins us now with details on that. Hi.
Hi, yeah, not the ideal preparation for a major championship for Italy, and the former Italy coach, Giovanni Trapattoni, has spoken of his humiliation. A busy day of French Open tennis, actually.
Lots happening.
Yeah.
Great stuff for Roger Federer.
It's incredible. 13 years.
233 in 13 years.
Yeah,
That's
I was
amazing.
lucky to win 233 games in my tennis career, let alone 233 matches.
I can say I've watched 233 minutes,
Yeah.
hours of it. Not played it. Amanda, thank you very much.
See ya.
You're watching World One live from London.
Welcome back. Let's take a look at what's trending on social media right now, shall we? At number 3, Johnny Tapia, the American boxer, died at his home in New Mexico Sunday, but tributes to the 5-time world champion are still pouring in. Tapia once said he'd been raised to fight to the death. Foul play is not suspected. Autopsy and toxicology tests will be carried out. Tapia was just 45 years old. At number 2, is Facebook planning to release its own phone? Well, that's what tech bloggers are talking about. The New York Times says that Facebook aims to launch a smartphone next year, saying it has hired more than half a dozen former Apple engineers who worked on the iPhone. And at number 1, and we talked about it a little earlier on the show here on World One, the Flame computer virus. It's being called the world's most sophisticated cyber weapon, and it is attacking computers across the Middle East. It's a program that can record conversations, it can delete data, and even take screen grabs from computers. Web users are speculating about who could be behind it. Zane, back to you.
Mari Ramos, thanks so much. You're watching World One live from London. I'm Zane Verjee.
I'm Monita Rajpal. Thank you for joining us. We'll update you of the news headlines in just a couple of minutes right here on CNN.